Good evening. My name is Teresa Metcalf, and I'm the Business Retention Expansion Manager for KerrEDC Development Corporation. Welcome to the first annual 40 Under 40 recognition event. 2020 has definitely been a historic year, and we are happy to recognize all of you and the exceptional contributions you have made in your communities. Each of you and your achievements have provided a bright spot in this year. I would also like to welcome Jeremy Walther, owner of Pint and Plow, who is joining us here live in the Arcadia Theater. Now it is my privilege to introduce Gil Salinas, Executive Director of KerrEDC Development Corporation, who, by the way, also happens to be the recipient of the DCI 40 Under 40 Rising Stars in Economic Development in the Nation. Please join me in welcoming Gil.
Thank you, Teresa. I actually kind of forgot I had gotten a 40 under 40. That's back when dinosaurs used to roam the earth. It's been a while. But anyhow, so today you will have some great anecdotal information, some very inspirational stories, local role models, and really an insight into some of our future leaders, which is this special group called the 40 Under 40 in the Texas Hill Country. But before I get into the program, just let me, I'm gonna go off on a little side story on this little girl by the name of Elizabeth and millennials. So my wife's an educator. She's a fourth grade teacher, and at her school, they usually have, the teachers need to have a care partner, which is a role model in the community that has to come in and talk to the kids, to each particular classroom on a monthly basis. So by default, I've been doing that all these years. So one time I remember I drove up to the school and I didn't have a presentation, I didn't have a topic. I was like, oh, I need to talk to these kids today. I was real busy. And so I was thinking like, oh, I know what I'll do. I know I can burn 30 minutes, today and give them donuts, right? So I walk in, classroom's ready, and my wife had already told me, this one group is a very inquisitive group. Like, okay. So I go in there and I start asking the kids, 20 plus kids, what is your dream? What do you want to be when you grow up? That was my question. All I want to know, what is it? So start going through the first students and so on and so forth. Great stories. I mean, it's across the board, and you can really see that they're just excited and they really start talking about their dreams. So we get to the last one, and they go through their story, and then I'm getting ready to start, talking about how to achieve those dreams, and my wife had already warned me. There's a little girl by the name of Elizabeth. So sure enough, she raises her hand, and I'm like, okay, there's a question. So she proceeds to ask me, Mr. Salinas, what did you want to be when you were little? What did you want to be when you grew up? And I'm like, oh, that's it? That's the question? It's an easy answer. Well, I wanted to be a movie director. So she jumps out of her chair, puts her arms out and says, what happened? What happened? Why are you not a movie director today? And I was like, had bad words going through my brain, right? And I'm like, so I got stumped by a fourth grader. And basically that opened my eyes. It's kind of like, but you know what? I did achieve my dream. I wanted to be an economic developer as well. Point of the story is, it took a child who's now a millennial to show me and show us that dreams are very attainable. Dreams do come true. You just have to, number one, put the work in. But really, the way they think, achieving a dream is a linear path, point A to point B. Put the work in, you make sure that nothing gets in the way. It's just us, we get older. Sometimes we become our own, road bumps along the way. We're the ones that put hurdles up, and then we lose sight, track, and focus our actual dream. And that's what we're here for today, exactly what we're here for today. The group that we're going to be talking about today, this 40 under 40, that's exactly, a lot of them, that's what they're doing. This is a very confident group. It's a group that understands that point A to point B, that linear path. And a lot of them are en route to achieving their dreams, or some of them, in some cases, as you will hear later, have already achieved that dream at a very young age. So the future of the Hill Country, this part of the state, this part of the country and the world, it's very exciting, and it's most definitely full of promise. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa, who's going to be sharing some great information about how now our organization, being reflective of the community, being reflective of this particular group, we're now moving forward in that direction to make sure that we embody that essence, describing that dynamism that we have here in that area, these synergies that we have, and again, instilling that confidence and that pro-business environment, that pro-business attitude to get things done. So with that, I'll turn it over to Teresa.
Thanks, Gil. I love that story. And it definitely pertains to this group very specifically, this 40 under 40 group. And we've experienced that firsthand in working with Gritco, who is owned by one of our very own 40 under 40 this year, Dakota Durden. As we move through this year and our mission to become more of a regional participant in economic development, we knew it would be very important for us to have consistent branding that reflected those collaborative efforts. We are proud to share our logo for the first time with you tonight. Gritco gave us what we believe is the perfect image to take Kerr Economic Development Corporation to the next level in economic development. This logo truly encompasses our mission, goals, and target audience. I would like to personally thank Dakota Durden, Callie Robertson, Kirby Altizer, and Garrett Rodenbeck for their work in rebranding KerrEDC, our video podcast, which is now called Economic Dialogue, and of course, the 2021 40 under 40 logo, which we will be premiering later in the evening. All right, everyone, this is the time of the show to put down your celebratory drink and pick up your pen and pad, and I say that from personal experience. You will have the opportunity after the keynote address for virtual Q&A, but I wanted to take the time now to introduce you. Your keynote speaker tonight has provided incredible inspiration and insight for my path to personal and professional growth, and I am truly excited and honored to introduce Alex Judd, owner of Path for Growth. Alex, thank you for joining us, and welcome.
Very good. Well, it's so good to be with y'all today. I'm hoping that you can hear me, which is something that I never struggle with if I'm in person. So I hope that you can hear me here digitally. I am just so grateful to be with y'all today. I'm so grateful to Gil and Teresa and to the Kerr Economic Development Corporation for inviting me to spend some time with y'all virtually. I was so bummed whenever I found out that I wasn't going to get to spend time with y'all in person, because I was just so excited to get to shake your hand and to get to congratulate you and just celebrate tonight with you, and really everything that tonight symbolizes with you. But as Teresa said, I own a business called Path for Growth, and we exist to help impact-driven leaders step into who they are created to be so that others may benefit and God may be glorified. That's why I get out of bed every single morning. That's why my team and the people that we work with get out of bed every single morning. And that's really what I'm here to do today. And as I was thinking about what did I want to talk about in the 10 minutes that we have together. And by the way, Teresa said, put down your drinks. No, keep your drinks in hand. I wish I had a drink in my hand right now. And let's also take notes, right? But I was thinking about what do we want to talk about? We've got 10 minutes together, and then we've got Q&A. And first of all, what I will tell you is I'm going to give you a lot of information really fast, because my goal is always to give people more than they can handle, and let's just chew on it for the next 90 days. So I'm going to give you a lot of information really fast, but that's why we have some Q&A time afterwards. And I know that there is nothing more daunting, nothing more fear-inducing, nothing more scary and intimidating than a virtual Q&A and what that entails. And I still, quite frankly, don't know what it entails. But I think you've got a chat feature. And if you have a chat feature, we're going to be doing questions and answers in the chat, and we'll do questions in the chat, and then I'll obviously be responding. And I didn't tell Teresa I was going to do this, but what I'm going to do is for the bold, the audacious, the brave leaders that actually chime in to ask those first questions, I've got 3 of my favorite leadership books that I'm going to be sending to y'all. And Teresa, I'm going to count on you to help me do that. But the first one is Leadership in Turbulent Times by Doris Kearns Goodwin. If you have read this book, oh my gosh, unbelievable book about 4 of our nation's presidents that went through periods of crisis. I've got John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, and I've got Leadership Strategy and Tactics. So that hopefully that's incentive enough to wade over or scale the obstacle that is a virtual Q&A, so that we can have some fruitful and vitality-inducing discussion after the presentation. But I want to jump in because I was just so excited about what we're talking about today. Now, I told you earlier that the business that I own, we work with impact-driven leaders. So these are individuals, men and women. Oftentimes they own businesses or they lead businesses. And the common denominator is that they have a track record for getting results, but it's not results for the sake of results. It's results for the sake of impact. And I'm just deeply and profoundly passionate about that topic of impact-driven leadership. And that's why I was so excited to spend time with y'all today, because I know when I'm talking to this group of people, although I may be talking to 40 or 50 people, I feel as though I'm talking to a group that's massively larger than that. Because the ramifications of what we accomplish tonight, we could never know the ripple effects. Because I know that when I talk to you as an individual, well, you're a leader. Because if someone depends on you, then you are a leader. So I know that I'm not just talking to one person. I'm talking to one person that represents maybe 10, maybe 100, maybe 500, maybe even 1,000 people. And I thought about, okay, well, what would be the best possible way to leverage our 10 minutes that we have together to create the greatest possible impact, not just for you, but for the people that you serve and the people that you get to work with and influence every single day. And what I wanted to focus on, just very briefly, it is not going to be something that is revolutionary, that's out of left field. My goal is to be the chief reminding officer, because I think that something powerful happens whenever impact-driven leaders apply hyper-intentionality to things they already know but too often forget. And so what I want you to talk, or what I want to talk to you about today, is 3 pillars of impact-driven leadership. I'm going to say it again. We're going to talk about 3 pillars of impact-driven leadership. So if you're writing down the title, that's the title of today's message. Go ahead and put down your beer real quick. Write down at the top of your page, 3 pillars of impact-driven leadership, and then go ahead and pick the beer right back up. And I want to run through these, and I'm going to give them to you, and then we're going to break them down a little bit. Pillar number 1 is alignment. Pillar number 2 is commitment. And pillar number 3 is strength. We're going to talk about alignment, we're going to talk about commitment, and then we're going to talk about strength. So let's start very quickly with alignment. It was a few years ago now that I was at a conference, and it was a conference that I was really, really excited about because really the slate of speakers were going to be some of the greatest speakers that I had ever been exposed to, partially because they were some of the greatest and most effective communicators on the topic of leadership and personal development in the world today. And I was at this conference as an attendee, and I was just so beyond excited because whenever I get the opportunity to go to an event like that, I simultaneously like to listen to the content that they have, the content that they're teaching, the message that they're giving, but simultaneously at the same time, I really like to focus on how they deliver the message that they deliver. I just am obsessed with this topic of effective communication, and it's so fascinating to watch the tools, techniques, tactics, and principles that people use to take a message and communicate it in such a way that it drives people towards an action or towards a decision. And so I was so excited about this. And as the event went through, it was exactly what I expected. I mean, these people were polished. These people were motivational. They were inspirational. They were purposeful. They were hyper effective and intentional communicators. But it was towards the end of the event that I realized something. There were two specific individuals that spoke on the stage that, for whatever reason, whenever they stepped on the stage, almost from the moment that they stepped on the stage and opened their mouth, the tone of the room changed. Now, remember, everyone on the slate was effective communicators, but these two individuals specifically, it was like the points that were serious, people took more seriously. The points that were funny, people laughed more aggressively. People were leaning in. I looked around and watched people's body language, and they were taking notes, and they were just tilting their head, and they were thinking about things, and you could just see the gears turning in people's heads and the level of silence in the room as they were paying attention to what these two individuals were saying. It was just really remarkable, and it was incredibly noteworthy. And as a student of effective communication, I sat back and I said, well, that is very interesting. And I thought about it for a second, and I asked myself the question, everyone on this stage is a hyper-effective communicator. Everyone on this stage can make a point in a very intentional way. Everyone on this stage has been funny and has been deliberate and has been serious and has been purposeful. Everyone on this stage has been incredibly polished. So why is it that these two individuals, the room, the tone of it changed? And I thought about it for a little bit. I spent some time on it for a little bit. And then I realized that there was something substantial that stood out about those two individuals. And that substantial thing that stood out about those two that people took more seriously was that they had a track record and a reputation for living the message that they were giving. I'm talking to you now about alignment. Recognize this, as leaders, I think that we live in what I would call the age of advice. Have you noticed that there are a lot of problems in the world right now? And as a result, there are also a lot of people that are racing to offer the biggest and best solution. But keep this principle in mind. It's way easier to give advice than it is to live advice. And leadership occurs whenever we choose to live in alignment with the message that we give. This is such a simple but profound principle where we need to think about, do my words align with my actions? Do my actions align with my words? Can I draw a straight line from what I'm saying to what I'm doing? Because alignment creates influence. It's so crucial that we draw a line in the sand for ourselves and we say, I refuse to give a message that I am not currently living. Because again, alignment creates influence. It's way easier to give advice than it is to live advice. The next pillar that I want to talk to you about is commitment. And specifically, I want to talk to you about the fact that commitment creates purpose. So often for young people nowadays, and I'm 29 years old, so I would describe myself as a young person, we subscribe to what I would refer to as lily pad leadership. I spend some time on this thing, and whenever that thing gets inconvenient or uncomfortable, I'll jump over to this thing. And then whenever that thing gets inconvenient or uncomfortable, I'll jump over to this thing. And then whenever I don't want to really do that anymore, I don't like spending time with those people, I'll jump over to this thing. But recognize this, sustained effort over time is what actually creates results. This is why commitment creates purpose. One of my favorite books that I've read over the course of the past year, and it's one of my favorite personal growth books that I've ever read, maybe you've read it before, is a book by David Brooks called The Second Mountain. And if you want to talk more about this book, we can in the Q&A. But one of the things that David says in The Second Mountain, he defines commitment. And what he says about commitment is he says that commitment is whenever you fall in love with something so much that you need to put structure around it for the times whenever you no longer feel in love with it. As leaders, we need to be people who are committed, which means we need to find the thing that we love. We need to find the people that we love. We need to find the community that we're called to. We need to find the work that we've called to. Like so many of y'all have done, and this award is just a recognition of the fact that you've been doing this. And then we need to commit. Let us be people who are recognized as pillars of our community. who people see at church every Sunday, who people see with a smile on their face whenever they walk into our office, who people see at the regular coffee shop or at the regular grocery store. But not only they see you, they are influenced by you. Because influence is not neutral. Keep this in mind. Influence is not neutral. It's like an elevator. You will either take people up or take people down, but influence is not neutral. And so one of the ways that we make sure that our influence is directed towards impact, well, it's commitment. We invest in the things that matter most. Because again, commitment creates purpose. So point number one, we said alignment creates influence. Point number two, we said commitment creates purpose. And then point number three, strength creates opportunity. Anytime I work with young people, and specifically we do a career planning intensive within my business Path for Growth. And when I work with young people, one of the things that we always focus on is stop shoring up weaknesses, start amplifying strengths. Whenever something goes wrong in your business, whenever something goes wrong with your team, whenever something goes wrong with my business or with my team, whenever something goes wrong with the businesses of the CEOs that I work with day in and day out, inevitably, we almost always, all of us, ask the same question. When there's a mistake, a pitfall, or a failure, we always ask the same question. We ask the question, why? What I'm going to challenge you to do as a leader is to ask that exact same question when things go right. Don't just ask why when things go wrong, ask why when things go right, because sometimes we are actually under-resourcing the thing that is our strength, the thing that is the strength within our business, the thing that is the strength within our community or within the team that we get to lead. Because strength creates opportunity, and this ties in directly to one of the core values of the company that I get to lead. One of the principles and the values, it's the way I end every single podcast episode that we have. I say, remember, my strength is not for me. Your strength is not for you. Our strength is for service. I really believe in that. Because at the core of my being, I really just believe that there's a difference between self-improvement and selfish improvement. There's a difference between self-improvement and selfish improvement. And so much that's out there right now on bookshelves and on Instagram and on podcasts, it's really selfish improvement, because it's me getting better for the sake of me getting better and then making sure all of you know about it. That is total crap. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on here, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's total crap. Me getting better for the sake of me getting better and then making sure all of you know about it. So what is self-improvement? Because I believe in self-improvement. Self-improvement is me maxing out the person that I am created to be. My strengths, my gifts, my talents, me stewarding those effectively and maximizing them so that, and that's a powerful phrase. Never forget that the phrase so that, on the other side of a so that, there's always a greater purpose. I'm going to maximize who I'm created to be so that others may benefit. Strength creates opportunity, and that opportunity, I believe, in its highest and best form is service. My strength is not for me. Your strength is not for you. Our strength is for service. And so recognize this award tonight. Wow, what a blessing. And what an incredible thing to be outrageously grateful for. Y'all, every single one of you right now, this is a symbol right now that you are operating from a posture of absolute strength. And I'm so proud of you. I'm such a fan of you. I admire y'all a great deal. I hope that I get to shake your hand one day and get to meet you, because it's just absolutely awesome. But do not forget that that strength, it's not for you. That influence, it's not for you. That leadership, it's not for you. Our strength is for service. Y'all, thank you so much for having me. But more than that, thank you for the way that you are committed to investing in the lives and leading the lives of other people. As I said, I'm such a fan of yours, and Teresa and Gil, I'm such a fan of y'all's. I don't know how we're going to do this Q&A, but I'm excited to jump in. And again, we've got 3 books right here that we're going to be sending to people that have questions. So Teresa, I'm going to give it back to you and we can jump in. Thanks, y'all.
Well, Alex, of course, as always, you never disappoint. So if I get to ask the first question, do I get one of those books?
Okay, absolutely. I'm actually going to send them all to you, so you can send them to other people. So if y'all don't get your book, then it just means that Teresa kept all of them.
Well, thank you for being here and sharing your experiences and your insights. Again, it's been such an impact on my life personally. And so I was very grateful that you took the time to share that and to give the opportunity for our 40 under 40 to be able to interact with you. So if you have a question for Alex, you can raise your hand using that hand icon, and we will get to those questions. So we will start that portion. So, Alex, I have to ask you. I know that I am going to be the first person to ask the question, but I'll make sure we get the books out to appropriate people.
I like it.
You know, in the times that we've had conversations within podcasts, and you've talked a lot about endurance and what that takes to be a leader and in business, and you have a lot of personal experience in that, in the way that you are disciplined in your life. So can you kind of give our audience what an example of that would be in your discipline on a daily basis that allows you to be successful?
Yeah, I believe that the things that we do daily create the people and the leaders that we become permanently. The things that we do daily create the people that we become permanently. And I think so often we think that the thing that we lack is discipline. And in reality, my experience is that the thing that we actually lack is habit. Teresa, I think you and I have talked about this before. There's a wonderful book called The Power of Habit. And what it really articulates is the fact that there are certain things that if we establish a rhythm and a routine of doing them every single day, they will have a massive ramification on everything else we do. And Charles Duhigg, the author of that book, he calls these things keystone habits. And so keystone habits are just these small things that if we do them every single day, they have ramifications for the rest of our day. And the one that I always think of whenever I use this example is making your bed. Did you know that there is a absolutely irrefutable correlation between people that make their bed every single morning and being able to stick to a budget in their personal finances, being able to maintain a healthy diet? And it's just what is that? Like, how does that work? And it's not causation, right? It's not like you're eating healthier because you made your bed, but it's because those are people that established the method and the rhythm of starting their day with a task completed. And when you start your day with a task completed, it really does. The evidence, the science shows that it has ramifications for the rest of your day. And so whenever we come to that topic of endurance and self-leadership and self-discipline, I always just challenge people, what are the high yield, what are the high return habits that you can create that you do every single day? And because you do them every single day, they have ramifications on everything else you do.
Okay, I think Claudia has a question for you, Alex.
Hey, Claudia.
Hi, am I supposed to type somewhere or speak, or how does this work?
I can hear you. It's great to hear your voice. Where are you calling in from, Claudia?
That works very well. I am in Center Point, Kerr County. How are you?
Oh, I'm golden. Thank you. This is too cool. What the magic of the 21st century. This is amazing.
Yes, hats off to 2020. Okay, so my question is, what impact drives you most? You speak a lot about impact driven. What is of highest importance? What impact do you want to make fundamentally?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. So one of the things that we work with business leaders with within the business that I own is we think that businesses, teams, and individuals thrive whenever they can answer three questions really, really clear. And so question number one is, why do I exist? Question number two is, what do I stand for? And question number three is, where am I going? And so specifically, question number 1, that's your mission. Question number 3, that's your vision. Those 2 things are related to the question that you asked, which is impact. What's the impact that you want to make? And as I've spent a lot of time working on this, praying about this, focusing on this, this is for me personally, my personal mission, why I get out of bed every single morning, is to glorify God by using the gifts he's given me to inspire understanding, action, purpose, and faith in others. Now, there is so much wrapped into that I wish I could go in and tell you more about, but really, like, what I challenge people is whenever they think about the impact that they're designed to make, is look at the things that have been true about you for a long time. Because sometimes we can think that impact is going to blindside us and come out of nowhere. And in reality, impact is typically the thing that we've been passionate about for years. We've either just been avoiding it or we've been afraid to pay attention to it. So that's the impact that I want to make. And then with regard to where am I going, well, I tell people I want to be a strong husband and dad. I want to be a centered business owner, and I want to be a professional communicator and leader. And then finally, the big one for me is that I want to be a spiritual stalwart as well. And so when I think of impact, it's both where am I going, what am I going to be, but also why am I getting out of bed every single day today? That's what I focus on. Claudia, I'd love to know what you do. What do you do? Claudia, I appreciate your question. Thank you. This is hilarious. I love it. Dakota, we'll come to you now.
Hey, good evening, Alex. Can you hear me?
Okay, Dakota, if you would like to go ahead and ask your question to Alex. And I know, so part of what we're doing with the webinar tonight is, unfortunately, we can't do follow-up questions. And so please feel free as we move forward in the program or after the program, make contact with Alex. You can contact him at pathforgrowth.com, as well as listen to his various podcasts. So Dakota, if you'd like to go ahead and ask Alex your question.
Hey, can you hear me, Alex?
I got you, Dakota. It's good to hear your voice. Where are you calling in from?
Comfort, Texas, the great western Kendall County out here in the middle of nowhere, buddy.
I love it. And what do you do?
So my firm does, we advertise and do integrative design and construction. So any number of different design aspects, including branding, all the way through architectural design and construction.
Fascinating. Very cool. Very cool. Well, congrats on the award, Dakota.
Thank you very much. Thank you for helping us out this evening and talking to all of us. So I grew up in a Christian family, and one of the most difficult things for me to reconcile in life, I very much agree with you that service to others is of maximum importance in life. And but one of the most difficult things to reconcile in the business world has been, how do you balance service to others and that being a true purpose with not being taken advantage of by toxic clients or businesses that are working in conjunction with you in some way?
I love that question. Nothing like a good, easy question this evening. I really like it, Dakota. Teresa, I'm going to call an audible, and instead of sending Dakota one of the books that I have here on my desk, I think we're going to send him a copy of a book called Thou Shalt Prosper. It's by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and it talks a lot about this topic. So I think that would be really, really good. And the reason why I say that is, Dakota, number one, I would say that we need to not mistake profit as something that is poor, right? A lot of times, the way in media today and the way culture today can paint a picture of profit as being a 4-letter word. And in reality, profit is just a sign that you've served people exceptionally well, that your business, that your team has served people exceptionally well. Because when you serve people, when you add value to people, when you invest in people, when you take them from here to there, they give you these little green certificates of appreciation with presidents' faces on them. And that's how we need to perceive dollars and cents, is we need to perceive it as, man, this is evidence that we serve someone. So number one, we need to shore up internally our perception of profit. And you may have already done that with yourself and with your team, Dakota. I just think that that's always the right place to start. And so then we have a responsibility to steward the profit that we have, to steward the team that we have, and to maximize the impact that we make. And there's a difference between service and subservience, right? Humility is not thinking less of yourself, C.S. Lewis said. Humility is thinking of yourself less. And so I really, really, truly believe in that line that I talked about earlier, that strength is for service. We are not serving anyone when we are operating from a posture of weakness and passivity. And if we are allowing people to run over us and to run over our team in ways that we know are not right, that is not serving them, because it's allowing them to give into their delusions of pride and grandeur. It's not serving our team. It's not serving the other customers that are the opportunity cost of not working with these people. And it's certainly not serving ourselves. So I really believe that the greatest thing that you can do to serve your team, to serve other customers that are ideal customers, is get crystal clear about what you stand for. And just say, man, there are certain lines in the sand that we are not willing to cross, and we're certainly not going to let some doofus jerk customer boss us around and take advantage of our team and demand things that are outside the realm of integrity. Right? If you can't tell, I get a little bit passionate about this, but I think it's so crucial, because I worked with a business owner on this yesterday. We were on a coaching call, and I told him, I don't think he would mind me telling you, his name was Ben. And I said, Ben, I've got an assumption about you, because I know this is true about me. I said, my bet is that when something goes wrong, when someone gets angry, when someone gets frustrated, when there's a mistake to be made, you always assume that you are the individual that is most at fault. And he said, Alex, that's absolutely right. And we had a wonderful discussion about the difference between ownership and responsibility. We are called to own things, but we are not called to take responsibility for someone else's actions. As a leader, this is a powerful phrase to be able to use. I'm responsible to you. I'm not responsible for you. I'm going to say it again. I'm responsible to you. I'm not responsible for you. I believe it's Henry Cloud that coined that phrase. You are responsible to provide the customer with a well-written contract, to clearly specify what they can expect, to deliver on what that contract said, to really show them what it looks like to treat your team the way you want your team to be treated, to communicate with them as you're working with them through the process. They are responsible for following the contract, for meeting payment deadlines, for treating your team the way you want your team to be treated, for communicating with you the way you need to be communicated with. You are responsible to them. You are not responsible for them. And the minute they break the things that they are responsible for, well, that's the minute that you need to draw some lines in the sand and say, hey, we've got some boundaries around this, and we're not going to cross these lines. And this just may be a great sign that you're not our customer. Really great question, Dakota. I hope that's helpful. Carolina, are you there?
Okay,
I'm here.
Carolina.
Hey, Alex, can you hear
I
me?
didn't hear the name. I'm sorry.
Carolina. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Where are you calling in
Okay.
from?
Hey, Alex, calling from Kerrville. I work for our local newspaper, editor, publisher. Thank you for spending your Thursday night with us. It's been a real joy.
I got to come hang out in Kerrville a couple months ago, and I just love y'all's town. And I just love the state of Texas in general.
Yeah, it's a great place to get to live. Really wonderful community. So as you were talking about, I work for the local newspaper, editor and publisher of the newspaper here.
Okay, very cool. Awesome,
Yeah,
very
so
cool. Question.
as we were talking about impact, totally in agreement with that. That's why I do and why our team does what we do. But I'm curious, when you think about the nagging things that threaten to compromise your ability to maximize that impact, to meet your potential, what are those things that most put that at risk, and how do you overcome them?
I think distraction is number one. And distraction nowadays most comes in the form of this thing, right? If impact always comes through delayed gratification, then this thing is the enemy, right? because this thing is nothing more than a slot machine that's in your pocket, right? And I heard this analogy the other day, and I was like, wow, that's so brilliant, because that's absolutely what it is. Because literally, I open this and I open my email and I pull up, and I hope that I'm going to get rewarded for that refresh, right? I'm playing slot machine. I'm looking for that instant gratification, and I feel a hit of dopamine every time I pull, because every time I pull, there's always the chance that the next email might be the email. And it's in that environment that we have to have the boldness to say, hey, I'm going to put that thing on hold. I'm going to have specific times a day where I'm going to attend to that instant gratification, where I'm going to attend to those things that may make me feel useful, but they certainly are not always meaningful. And I'm going to focus on the elements of delayed gratification. So number one is distraction. And number two, and I don't know that I've properly wordsmithed this, or I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. I think it's the myth of where freedom comes from. Because I think that there's this lie today that freedom comes from being able to sit on a beach in the Bahamas with zero responsibility, zero commitment, and just do whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like it, all the time. Now, I have nothing against the Bahamas. I have nothing against vacation, but I will tell you, spiritually, scientifically, psychologically, neurologically, everything that I've read, everything that I've studied, it says that freedom is often tied to discipline, structure, and responsibility. Jordan Peterson is one of the thinkers that I listen to most nowadays. And one of the things that he says is that purpose occurs when we engage with the optimal level of struggle voluntarily undertaken. So optimal struggle, it's the exact right amount of challenge. You don't want to go too far where you're way out over your skis, but you also don't want something that's just a cakewalk every single day. You want to be dancing on the edge of failure. You want optimal struggle, but it's voluntarily undertaken. You're saying, I'm going to courageously wade into doing hard things because hard things create value for myself and other people. And that's where I think freedom and purpose actually comes from. Really, really wonderful question. I hope that's helpful.
Alex, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Again, I think we probably were not able to get to all of the questions. So I would just like to open it up again for you to be able to connect with our 40 under 40. We'll make sure that you have their information. And again, please reach out to Alex on his website for Path for Growth. Listen into his podcasts. It's something that's always in my queue.
Teresa and Gil, thank y'all so much. And I'd also tell y'all, I'm such a fan of y'all. If you ever want to, if you have questions that are still standing, shoot me an email, alex@pathforgrowth.com. Whatever I can do to help you, I'll actually absolutely do it. So again, it's alex@pathforgrowth.com. Teresa, I'll be sending you these books. Thank y'all again so much for having me tonight. Congratulations on this award. Remember, my strength is not for me. Your strength is not for you. Our strength is for service. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Alex. And I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Gil Salinas so that he can talk to you a little bit about another recognition that we would like to give for KerrEDC.
Thank you, Teresa. And I mean, I love everything that Alex was saying, and we've known him now for quite some time, and he's definitely got an affinity for this area. Couple of takeaways, or three takeaways. One is give advice, live advice. Alignment creates influence. Commitment creates purpose. And while he was saying this, I was just thinking of that little girl, Elizabeth. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what she was talking about. You know, it's giving advice and living advice, right? But this is a great segue to our next community leader, whom we've also, everybody knows him. Jeremy Walter. He is definitely the definition of a true community champion. His efforts in engaging brew pubs, distillers, and other small businesses in changing laws, in working, with these local efforts all in the name of these future entrepreneurs, paving the way for them to come in and set up their own businesses, working on other endeavors, such as, in addition to his own business, Pint and Plow, it's, working with Kerrville's Farmers Market, the Big Seed Project, the Trailhead Beer Garden, and all for the betterment of our community. This has earned him the coveted, and when I say that, every small business wants this award, has earned him the SBA's Small Business Administration Champion of the Year Award for the state of Texas. With that, help me virtually welcome and congratulate Jeremy Walter on this award. Jeremy, again, I mean, that's pretty significant.
Thank you, Gil. I'm very humbled and honored to receive that award, and to Teresa for nominating me for that award. That was not something that that I sought out, but in the work that we have done together over the last several years, for you to recognize that and to think of me, I really do appreciate that. One of the things that that SBA asked us to do once we received that award was to create an acceptance speech. This happened early spring, and originally there was going to be an award ceremony in San Antonio that we were all going to go down to, and then COVID hit, and so they had to shift everything to go virtual, and so they asked to do a 90-second speech and record it and then submit it to them, and that didn't sound like a lot of fun to me, and so I thought, well, if this award is all about, someone who uses business to develop community, who uses business to create connections among people and place, well, let's create an acceptance speech that kind of reflects that daily effort that we make. Like Alex talks about the importance of intent. And so one of the daily intents of everything that I do and the people that I work with is, what are we doing today to make Kerrville a better place to live, not just for ourselves, but for those around us and those who are going to come after us, the next generation. And so in that context, what can we do with this task at hand to create this 90-second thank you speech and make it fun? And so the thought was, we'll team up with our friend Allison, who's with us tonight, to create a film that recognizes one of the things that makes Kerrville so special. And I'd like to, Allison's here tonight, we're actually going to share the film that we sent to SBA as our acceptance speech, but a little bit of background on Allison. Allison graduated Baylor University in May of this year and had this pretty sweet internship lined up at this place called Disney World.
Yep.
And so she was ready to go to Disney World from Waco, but then like everyone else, plans had to change. And so she found herself in Kerrville, where her parents had just moved from Colorado. Allison's a California girl. So she goes from California to Baylor thinking she's going to Disney World and comes to Kerrville. And that was in May and June. And so what did Allison do? She made the most of her situation. And Allison's passion is film, and Allison's passion is telling stories through film. And so Allison created a story that helped us say thank you for this award. And so the idea of this film was to choose a quality of Kerrville that inspires us and a quality that we want to support. And so Allison, do you want to talk a little bit about the film?
Yeah, I guess so. So Welcome Home, really, it's funny when Jeremy emailed me and he's like, hey, I want to do this short film. Can you help me with it? And it's for a 90-second acceptance speech and everything. I was like, okay, sure. And he gave me like three different qualities he wanted to demonstrate, which was the people, the diversity, the business, and then also the music as well. And he was very specific about using Conrad Wirt, who goes under Possessed by Paula James. And he was very clear about that. And so I was like, okay, let's figure it out. What's the best way to show everybody? And I was like, what is everybody just singing the song? Sang by Conrad. And so that's kind of what Welcome Home is all about. And the song is really perfect for this because it really shows that even if you go through so many different trials and tribulations and you have to end up coming home, you're always welcomed. And that was a really big thing for me as well, you know, coming in to this little community and, you know, I felt so accepted immediately. And yeah, but that's what Welcome Home is.
No, and she did a fantastic job, if I may add. And look, I'm not from here, so you know I came in from the outside as well, not from
Right.
California, from South Texas, but
Okay.
but yeah, the moment that you know that I got here and my family saw that as well, it's they made you feel at home immediately, and I think that's the essence of what you have in this one. In addition to that, you know, just really showcasing or highlighting, and you having that outside perspective with some of those natural resources that we have in the area, our cultural heritage, the music, the arts. But again, that, and I've always gone back to this, that this part of the state really has that true independent pioneer spirit. And that's a great segue for small businesses. You know, I see that, you know, and they live that. For us in economic development as well, you know, being able to reach out to our partners, knowing that it's still that, you know, that's embedded in our DNA here in this part of the world. So with that, I'll let you just introduce the video and so we can watch it.
All right. Roll it, I guess.
All right, I like it.
I've resolved all my demons by singing and screaming my shame. Yes, I've opened up all them dungeons, and I've laid with the bodies I've slain.
Seen the Christians and the pagans break their bread and they drank the wine.
Join hands, sing the chorus. Well, tonight, no, we'll never die.
Oh, we welcome you home. Oh, we welcome you home.
Oh, we welcome you home. Oh, feels so good to have you back home. From battles, war-torn houses, 21 days and return. Home from treatments, education, looking back, though it all was a blur. Home from good friends and wine and women, oh yeah, the family stone.
Oh, if no one can claim you, we stand here to welcome you.
Welcome you home. So good to have you back home. We welcome you home. Oh, so good to have you back home. Sun come up. Oh, still nothing changes. the moon, well, the moon, oh, is calling me.
Yeah, the moon, oh, keeps calling me, well, calling me back home, home.
Feels so good to have you back home. Yeah. Well, we welcome you home. Oh, it's so good to have you home. These are your friends, some of them lovers.
Bombs bursting in air as we run for cover.
Join hands, sing the chorus well tonight. No, we'll never die.
Well, if you'll happen to leave us, we'll sing in the sweet by and by. We welcome you home, home. So good to have you back home, or to have you back home. Oh, we welcome you home, home. So good to have you back home, or have you back home. Welcome you home, home. So good to have you back home.
Love that video. I mean, it's very well done, very representative of the area. Okay, so now to the group of the hour, our 40 under 40 recipients. We're going to be reading some excerpts from their bios, pulling from that. On the screen, you're going to be able to see there's going to be some additional information of these recipients. So we did a little deeper dive into the minds and the psychology of our recipients. One of the things that we asked was, what inspires you? Where do you grab your inspiration from? People that inspire you. What's your favorite color? We asked that as well. That says a lot about a person, actually. Favorite quote, and then songs. It's interesting because with inspiration, you had people that said, God, faith, family inspires them. Nature was another one. And then the one that I found interesting, there was a handful of people that said, well, just regular people inspires me. And I was like, that's interesting, but that actually makes a lot of sense. On the colors, almost half, or about 15, picked color blue or a variation of blue. A little surprised by that, but it's blue. Then you had green, red, and then the one that cracked the top 5 or top 4 was teal. There was a few people that picked teal. I was not expecting that. Then you had, of course, obviously those that were very specific. Some said, well, a shade of a certain jewel color, or lilac, and then indigo. And I was like, okay. Quotes. So you had, your usuals that picked, certain U.S. presidents. Theodore Roosevelt was up there. Winston Churchill, the Bible, and Michelle Obama. There's quite a few women that picked her. And then Homer Simpson made it to the list. So I thought that was pretty cool. Songs, country, classical, some hip hop, but almost half of them picked songs from the 1980s. And I was like, I grew up, it was the latter part of the 1980s, and I'm telling you right now, it was overrated, okay? So But there was one person that picked heavy metal. I'm like, finally, somebody speaks my language, a little bit of heavy metal, you know. This group, very dynamic group. The youngest under 40 recipient is 19 years old. The oldest is 39 and a half years old. And the average age for this group is around 32 to 33 years of age. So with that, we will start with our first recipient. And I'm going to go through these. And again, we're just going to be grabbing a little bit from their bios. Julie Arnold. She is from Kerrville, graduated from Tybee High School. She got a Bachelor of Science from TCU in 2015, where she was also the founder and the president of an organization on campus called TCU Foodies. She was an executive administrative assistant for Peterson Medical Associates, or is right now, and she's also on the board of the Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals. And one of her goals is to mentor young women in becoming the best version of themselves. Next, we have Trey Atkinson. He's the general manager of Cecil Atkinson Motors. He's originally from this area. However, his professional career, and he's a graduate of Baylor University. His career started with Premier Jet Aviation in San Antonio, where he assisted clients with sales and acquisitions of business jets. And then after a few years, he made his way back to Kerrville, working for the Atkinson Motors Company, where he now is the general manager, or has been since March of 2019. He's also an active member in several boards, one of which is the Kerrville Airport Board. Next is Hunter Beaton. He's the 19-year-old that is actually a student. He's a student at the University of Texas at Austin. Look at my horns. He is the founder of a nonprofit, which is called Day One Bags. He came up with his idea when he found out that foster children, when entering a home, typically, or a foster home, typically get a trash bag full of their items. And he found this out because his siblings were adopted. So he started an effort. He has had this effort now for about 4 years now, where he started the fundraising and providing the best bags available across 16 states, and has donated more than 34,000 bags to foster youth. His most recent campaign, as of late, is Combat COVID Kits for Foster Youth, and he's at 300 foster kids now. So he's still at the UT. He is a history and communications and leadership major at the University of Texas, and his goal one day is to serve in some capacity at the Department of Family and Protective Services. Next is Brian Benway. He is the Director of Communications for Bernie Independent School District. And he's been there a few years now. Prior to that role, he served as state representative for Kyle Bitterman's district director for 3 years. He's actually a nationally syndicated radio host. He has also done some broadcasting and media relations for professional hockey teams. And in his off time, in case you guys want to go and participate in his hobby, he is a ring announcer. He's also an active wrestler. Allison Boucher, native of this area as well. She graduated from Schreiner University. She's currently the interim director of customer and community relations for the Kerrville Public Utility Board. That's KPUB. She's also a board member of the Kerrville Area Chamber of Commerce. Prior to this role, she was with Mo Ranch as their VP of Marketing and Communications. She enjoys, very much like what Alex Judd was saying, giving her time back to the community where she grew up, and she volunteers for different causes that are near and dear to her heart. and continues to volunteer for several nonprofit organizations such as the Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corp, Kerrville Pets Alive, and the Executive Women's Club. Stephanie Cash, she's passionate about advocacy for abused and neglected children. She used to be a volunteer for CASA, which is that group that specifically works with abused and neglected children. She joined them in 2013 as a volunteer, and shortly thereafter, she began assuming the role of executive director for that organization. Since then, she's worked in the different capacities. Before that, she was actually the administrator and director of after-school and preschool programs in Austin, as well as Bryan College Station. In 2018, she she was also an adjunct professor at Schreiner University in their business school, and she's got a degree from Texas A&M University and a Master of Education in Adult Education from there as well. Paola Compian. She's actually from Central Valley in California. They moved to Kerrville back in 2007. Tivy High School grad, and also went on to study education at Schreiner University. She's during that time at the university, she studied and worked for the Elephant Story in Comfort, Texas, and that took her to a journey in 2017 to Thailand, where she volunteered as an English teacher in a remote village at the school, which is the Elephant Story, a school that's supported by the Elephant Story. She's been teaching bilingual students since then here at the KISD, which is Kerrville Independent School District. And while teaching, she also earned her Master in Educational Leadership. Dakota Durden, whom I believe asked one of the questions today, is a very community-focused husband, father, innovator, entrepreneur, builder, and a designer, and believes deeply in the betterment of all things. One of his firms, he's got several companies, but his main firm is Grit Co. It's a diverse technology advanced firm that offers design build services in commercial, luxury residential, and fine crafted millworks. His firm has a reputation for excellent design build, and is a first call for clients ranging from small private firms to Fortune 500 companies. Next, we have Taylor Finley. And if you all know him, he's a giant. This guy's really tall. I've got to look up to him. He's got a bachelor's degree in finance from Schreiner University. He graduated from Leadership Kerr County as well, and he's from the Hill Country also. He's very active in the Kerrville's Chamber Young Professionals group, and he, in his current capacity, he is an investment advisor representative and a registered representative with the Cambridge Investment Research Group. William Garrett Ford. He's originally from San Antonio, and in his essay, because all of these 40 under 40 recipients, they had to submit an essay, and there were some pretty challenging questions in there. At 18, he basically said, in short, life got in the way. Right now, he is the director of 4 men's sober homes in Kerrville, and he's created the group called, or business basically, the Crossroads Sober Living, where he's got about 40 residents that live there with him. He also does business in Fredericksburg, Bernie, basically in the Hill Country. And what he enjoys about what he has to do, because life got in the way, and he's learned from that, he gets to do interventions all over the country. And he, as a result of that, he's also developed a sober transportation business called the Ford Sober Transports, where his drivers pick up people and take them to and from treatment centers all over the state. He's also got his podcast, a national podcast that comes out each week called The Erroneous Constabulary. Had a hard time trying to pronounce that one. Where he interviews people with very interesting and diverse backgrounds. Next, we have Clint Fiore. He is the founder and CEO of Texas Business Buyers, LLC, which is an industry-leading high-tech mergers and acquisitions business brokerage firm located here in the heart of the Hill Country, Kerrville. He's led dozens of transactions worth tens of millions of dollars throughout the Hill Country. And as of late, he's launched a joint venture with remote bookkeeping and accounting with his longtime friend and teammate, Dusty Block. And they also work and lead the San Antonio-based and Inc. 5000 financial services company called the Pax Financial Group. Clint is also very well known for having founded the Hill Country Pitch Day, which is the equivalent of your Shark Tank, where they work with Texas entrepreneurs who are looking for expansion and startup funds, and they go before a panel of judges to make their case and to on stage to hundreds of local and angel investors. So it's not just judges, but also the investors as well. And just on a side note, Clint Fiore, very fortunate to have him on my board, on our board. He's with the KerrEDC, one of the KerrEDC board members. With that now, we've gone through our first 10 of our 40 under 40. We'll now turn it over to Teresa, who's gonna provide a few words about our judges.
Thank you, Gil. And so wonderful to be able to hear about those first 10, and I look forward to the rest of the program. I just wanted to take a very brief moment right now to thank our first annual 40 under 40 judges. This initiative and event would not be possible without each of you and the countless hours that you put in reviewing the submissions. We truly cannot thank you enough for making our first annual 40 under 40 a success.
Thank you, Teresa. So now, covering our next cohort of 10 of the 40 under 40. Keep in mind that they're not ranked, they're basically in alphabetical order. Laura, 4. She is a person that had a vision about real estate. She now owns 4 premier properties, which is now an industry leader. She's got 37 agents, and she's closed more than 2,000 transactions with a total volume sold over $595 million in deals through her firm. She started her real estate career in her early 20s while studying art, of all things, right? Art at Texas A&M in Corpus Christi. But she was offered an opportunity at a boutique real estate firm in Corpus Christi, which led her to where she's at today. Since then, and since being in Kerrville, she's earned a reputation for innovation in real estate marketing. She's a very active member of our community, and she's now expanded into the San Antonio, Austin, as well as the Fredericksburg, as well as Corpus Christi. Justin Foster. He is the Vice President of Community First National Bank. Before joining the bank back in 2014, he was a commercial credit analyst for a prior bank that he was employed at. But since joining Community First National Bank, his responsibilities have really grown and, gone from different, capacities, from commercial lender to now market president. He oversees the banks in the Kerrville branch, as well as all of the lending that goes on in some of those banks, and also handles the budgeting and strategic planning for that particular Kerrville branch. He earned a graduate banking degree and a leadership certificate from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. And if you're not familiar with that, that's a big deal. Next is Ricky Gleason. a financial advisor for Prime Capital Investment Advisors. He's from the Bernie area, operates in the Bernie area. Prior to that, he was actually a financial advisor with Wells Fargo. He graduated from Bernie High School and then went off to Texas A&M University in Kingsville, Texas. He's currently a very active member of the Bernie community, and now he serves as a commissioner of the Planning and Zoning Committee in that community. Callisto Griffith. She's a public relations professional and entrepreneur with over 10 years of experience, a native of Gillespie County, and a lover, quote, of all things wine. She's worked in the Texas wine industry for more than 2 years, starting with William Chris out of High, which is a big deal. They've made, it's a national brand there. And then as marketing director for Turtle Creek Olives and Vines in Kerrville, which is also an upcoming brand here in the area. She now works as a regional consultant and finds herself fortunate to have found an industry so close to her heart and also close to her home. She's an advocate for hashtag Real Texas Wine and the Texas Wine Trail. Mason Howerton first came to camp as a volunteer counselor when he was 14 years old. And over the years, he kept coming back and eventually started volunteering and became part of the lead staff. Several summers ago, he became the head instructor for horseback there. And as a result, now he's come back home to camp and made his home at Centerpoint. Today, Mason serves as a facility supervisor at camp and is constantly seeking to not only improve his own skills and knowledge, but also use them in improving the camp, as well as mentoring current and future generation of teens and young adults who are looking to follow in his footsteps. Jessica Johnson. She's a co-owner and founding partner of Solid Realty Group based in Bernie. Her belief is that, quote, we can provide individualized services for everyone while building new and innovative money packages to help keep costs down and allow homeowners the opportunity to keep a little bit more of their hard-earned money. So that says a lot for somebody in a realty business. Jessica specializes in strategic planning, transaction management, and marketing. She's been the president of the Rotary Club in Bernie, as well as the Rotary Club of Bernie's Foundation. She graduated from UTSA and then later received her MBA from the University of Iowa. Dr. Kelsey Jones, originally from Kerrville, grew up in Medina, Texas, not far from here, and then eventually moved to Port Aransas, Texas. She earned an undergraduate degree as a diagnostic ultrasound technician in Corpus Christi. Then that led her to the Houston area, where she went to the Texas Chiropractor College in Pasadena, Texas. Today, she's licensed by the Texas Board of Chiropractor Examiners and has met all requirements of National Board and Chiropractor Examiners. Has been eager to use a lot of these added modalities to help as many people as possible. Kelsey, at the age of 27, she opened her own practice and is located here in Kerrville, which is a Kerr County chiropractor located in Sidney Baker Boulevard. Next, we have, sorry, my fingers are starting to dry up here. Leslie Jones. Leslie is a native of Uvalde, Texas. She is the communications coordinator for the Kerrville Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Kerrville. She graduated from Schreiner, originally from Uvalde, moved to Kerrville, and she's got a bachelor's in psychology. And once she got into the tourism industry, she really found her calling in destination marketing, which is the term that's used to sell a particular place. But also of interest is that when she's not behind the computer working on new ideas and ways to attract visitors to the Kerrville or to the Hill Country area, she is a member of the Kerr County Roller Derby team. So careful. Brianna Larson she is a Houstonian and eventually found her way to the Texas Hill Country. After graduating from the University of Houston, she started her professional career in sales in San Antonio and then eventually made her way to Kerrville a few years ago. She's very active, involved in the Hill Country Charity Ball, Leadership Kerr County, Kerrville Pets, Alice, and the Hunt School Mentorship Program. She's a huge animal lover and an advocate of overall philanthropist, dreamer of making the world a better place in whatever little way that she can. Now, that was number 20, so we will turn it over to Teresa, who will provide a little bit of information on our marketing partners.
Thank you, Gail. So we're halfway through our recipients. Congratulations to you. On behalf of KerrEDC staff and the board of directors, I would like to say thank you to Aaron Yates and his team. It was a disappointment when we came to the conclusion that we would have to change this event to an online platform. But Aaron, you and your team have made the transition seamless and easy. And we look forward to future opportunities to work together, whether they be virtually or in person.
Thank you, Teresa. Now moving on to the second half of our 40 Under 40, we've got Jennifer Ladiolis, and somebody that we've worked with in the past. She is a marketing and development executive with extensive experience in business communications, branding, and event management. She's known for efficiency, extraordinary responsiveness to their customers' needs, and the business that we're in, which is building lasting relationships. She is the development director for All Plastics, a manufacturing firm here in Kerrville, as well as in Dallas, Texas. And her role is to really enhance their brand, their market presence, and find new business partners. She's very involved also in developing employee and talent marketing. Next, we have Marty Leonard. Marty is the assistant professor of music in the Division of Visual and Performing Arts at Schreiner University, where he also received the Faculty Award of Excellence in Service. He's got both a bachelor and a master's degrees in music education from Texas State University and a PhD in music education from Auburn University. Currently serves as a board member for the Kerrville Independent School District Board of Trustees. He was also very involved in the Kerrville 2050 Comprehensive Plan. And he's also active and a board member in the local nonprofit Big Seed. Next, we have Albert Martinez. He is the owner of Cypress Roofing, which is here in the Kerrville, Ingram area. He's worked in roofing, in the roofing industry since he can remember, basically as a teenager. In 2017, he started AMR Construction. And then less than a year later, he took over Cypress Roofing. So in that short amount of time, Cypress Roofing established itself as a go-to for companies, construction companies here in the Kerrville area, to where his business was awarded the Kerrville Daily Times, the local newspaper. They were awarded the Best Roofing Company Award 2 years running. Very dynamic individual and continues to really contribute not just to the business, but also to the local community. Next is Heather McClung. Again, one of the individuals that just life got in the way. Heather owns Pax Coffee and Goods. She's lived in Kerrville since she was 6 years old. She's owning her own business has always been an aspiration of hers. cooking, baking, and coffee were always her hobbies, again, since she can remember as well. Before owning PAX, she was an aviation insurance agent for 10 years. Needing some change, she decided to pursue her passion of sonography. And then in 2018, life took a different path. She was in a horrific boat accident that resulted in 51% of her body burned. This life-changing moment created a path that would propel her to that next chapter in her life. With her support, absolute support from her husband, Andrew, she became the owner of PAX. And if you're in the Hill Country, you absolutely know about PAX. It's a great place to come in and not just get, your coffee, drinks, and food as well, but a place that she likes to say that you can build relationships at. Next is Tabra McMillan. He's originally from West Texas, out in Lubbock, raised in Wolforth, Texas. He got his undergraduate degree in finance at Lubbock Christian University, and shortly thereafter began his banking career at Plains Capital Bank in Lubbock, and then that led him to a branch in Fort Worth. And then over the years, got married and then started working for Centennial Bank. That was back in West Texas in Lubbock. So 8 months later, Greg Appel, which you're from the area, you'll know who Greg is. He's Centennial Bank's CEO, called Mr. McMillan and asked about the possibility of moving to the Hill Country. So in 2018, he made the trek east to where we're at today and has succeeded in the banking industry. He's now held several volunteer positions with Young Life, as well as Habitat for Humanity, and is very involved now as well with Leadership Kerr County in their steering committee. Now we get to two of our 40 under 40. That is Anabel and Daniel Medrano. They are owners of the 1962 Barber Company, formerly known as the 1962 Barber. They started working on this business. Annabelle's actually from Buda, and Danielle is from the area here. So when they started working on this business, they saw that Kerrville had many salons, but very few barber shops. So they said, quote, "We decided to bring our own creativity and funk to our business and create a classic experience for the modern man and woman." Obviously, they don't get business from me. That was a joke, by the way. So they've started this business, and if you have not been there, it's a great business model that they have there. You need to go visit their operation here in Kerrville. But since then, they've been asked by a lot of people, was it scary or hard to do what you're trying to create? And their response was, yeah, it's very scary. But you know what? You just have to close your eyes and jump straight into it. Next, we have Heidi Mills. Heidi is the co-founder of Innovator Academy Kerrville, which is here in the area. She's a writer and a speaker, a national speaker as well. Her mission is to inspire hope, courage, and creativity. Her academy has been recognized, and really that model that they have there, it's getting noticed by many other educational institutions, not just in the state of Texas, but throughout the nation. She lives in Kerr County with her husband and her 6 children. Next is John Oliver. John started his career in the brewing industry actually just 3 years ago. And what he likes to say is that, just kind of started, with it by a happy accident. So he joined the Bandera L project team. And Bandera, again, not far away from here. It's in the Hill Country. And started working there, started, volunteering, working. And over the next year, he eventually became the general manager, then a partner, then the head brewer and co-owner of the business. This has led him to a very progressive improvement and movement in the beers distribution and the marketing development of that particular industry. John Oliver, he said that, look, he's been an entrepreneur and an innovator as long as he can remember. From fixing and selling computers at the age of 14 from his house to creating now, today, his own company outside of the brewery industry, which is called Charity Betting. Next, we have Megan Owen. She's originally from Southeast Texas. She graduated from Texas Tech University. She's got a bachelor in interdisciplinary agriculture, as well as arts in history and minors in secondary education and animal science. So shortly after graduation, she started teaching as an agricultural sciences teacher in the Texas Panhandle. And then eventually that led her to this particular area where she decided to pursue other career options and focus now more on her family, which led her to becoming now a paralegal in the family business. So as of 2019, she's now with Texas Railing Systems, currently here in the Kerrville area. And then to finish off this third cohort of 40 under 40, we've got Mr. Travis Page. He is the owner and president of T. Page Construction, which specializes in custom home building here in the area. He was actually in Austin before he came back to Kerrville. He's created the Twin Creeks Custom Homes, where he acts as a managing partner. But prior to this, to these companies that he has, he was still is an award-winning project manager for some of the nation's top home builders, such as Monterey Meritage Homes and Ashton Woods, huge developers. What's interesting about Travis, which we work with him as well, is that at the age of 20, that's when he built his first home. I can't imagine what that is. I wouldn't even venture to try to build something right now. Travis is also a partner on a 10-acre workforce housing development here in Kerrville, which that's one of the reasons why we've been working with him, because of housing, not just here, but in the entire Hill Country. So he's been very active in trying to help us economic developers in that regard. So with that, I will now take this moment for our final commercial, if I could use that term, to thank our stakeholders. And that is our board of directors, the Kerr Economic Development Corporation, as well as our Economic Improvements Corporation. Without them, none of this would be possible. I mean, our board, our stakeholder groups, this is a group that really helps us with the direction, not just of the organization, but direction of our community. We have a combination of agency heads, some elected officials, and business owners and entrepreneurs. It's allowed us to they really help with facilitating the process of economic development, and allows us to really go out there and work projects, as in just our recent announcement of Kildare Mountain Manufacturing, huge aerospace firm coming into the Kerrville area. That really couldn't have been done without the direction and the support of these different stakeholder groups coming out here and saying, let's work on something, let's go after these projects. We're in a position to really grow our community and our region. Now, we get to our final 10 from our 40 under 40. Remember, it's not a ranking, they're alphabetical order. We have Ms. Rachel Annie Reist. She's born in Austin and then moved down to the Rio Grande Valley, to McAllen, where she lived there and graduated from high school there. And then when she was young, she attended the Texas Lions camp in Kerrville and always had an affinity for this area. So she attended Schreiner University when that opportunity became available for her. She graduated a few years ago with a bachelor's in psychology, and then immediately started working at the Kerrville Convention and Visitors Bureau. Since then, now she finds herself as part of the Peterson Health Team, where she serves as a patient access specialist at Peterson Regional Medical Center. Next, we have Claudia Richards, whom was one of the individuals who asked a question to Alex Judd earlier today. She is the program director for Precinct 2 Prosperity Program, which is a team of business and individuals with a mission to stimulate economic prosperity here in the area. Claudia and her team, they secured a proposition for the voters of Precinct 2 in Kerr County. This happened in November, where the proposition for the sale of alcoholic beverages in Precinct 2 passed. Precinct 2 in Kerr County was a dry part of this county. But at a very young age, she had a spark for service, or her spark for service was ignited at 13 when she began missionary work with an orphanage in Ghana. Since then, she's been able to now really see that orphanage and had the privilege to watch that orphanage grow into a school today and a self-sustainable community. So we're looking to really, again, we've worked with her as well with this whole Precinct 2 initiative, and excited to see that she's part of just economic development in general. Next is Zach Riffett, financial advisor at Edward Jones. He focuses on wealth strategies and portfolio reviews for individual investors and small business owners here in the Texas Hill Country. Continues to be a very active person in the community through such boards as the Kerr County United Way Board of Directors, Veteran Services, the Dietert Center for Board of Directors as well, Meals on Wheels, Walk to End Alzheimer's, so on and so forth. He's been here for a few years now, but again, a person that as a financial advisor always finds a way to work with the private sector and gives away a lot of his free time to local programs. Next is Stephanie Sexton. She's a space management coordinator for Silver Eagle Distributors, where she serves more than 100 accounts in the beer industry. She's a certified beer expert and a certified by the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. Prior to joining Silver Eagle, she worked for H-E-B as a department manager in beer. So she enjoys chasing her eight-year-old daughter around, as well as with her husband. She's just a mother of a newborn girl. And one of the things that she loves doing with the family is searching for the best tacos in the state of Texas. Joshua Sissom, partner of Sissom and Associates, LLP. He's represented thousands of clients in the arena of investment recovery and done some very complex commercial litigation. He's a graduate of St. Mary's University. Began his litigation experience by taking point in a civil prosecution of a multi-state $60 million oil and gas Ponzi scheme. Joshua, he's worked on projects such as the International Solar Park development, telecommunication infrastructure, commercial development, and several security investments. He's also, in his prior role, worked directly for Major General Robert F. Dees, whom, if you do not know who this person is a very renowned business leader and author of the arena of leadership and resilience. Nick Socius. Nick is a special victims prosecutor for Kendall County. Solely responsible, and Kendall County is the adjacent county to us. He's solely responsible for the criminal prosecution of all sensitive cases involving domestic violence and crimes against our society's most vulnerable, which are children, elderly, and the disabled. He's an affiliate of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and prior to his role here, he was actually a prosecutor at the District Attorney's Office in Harris County District Attorney's Office, which is the largest one in the state of Texas. It's out of Houston. Carlina Villalpando, which was also asked a question. She's originally from Brownwood, Texas, just on the northern part of the Hill Country. She's the editor and the publisher of the Kerrville Daily Times. She graduated from Howard Payne University, where she studied communication. But she actually began her career as an intern with the Daily Times, and then moved over and started as a reporter, features editor, managing editor, and then left for a position as managing editor of the Tyler Morning Telegraph. Now, a couple years later, she's now back in the Kerrville area, where she's now the publisher of the Kerrville Daily Times. Outside of journalism, she enjoys helping small businesses and nonprofit organizations, helping them spread their message through effective social media and digital marketing. Next, we have Jake Williamson. He's been with Spectra Venue Management, and since 2015, his role now has been he's been the general manager of the Hill Country Youth Event Center here in Kerrville. He's got a passion for excelling in challenging and non-traditional work in a non-traditional work environment as well. Since starting back then, he started in a very entry-level position while attending the University of Northern Colorado. And that brought him here to the Kerrville area, where now he finds himself today mentoring the next wave of young leaders. Jake was also a non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army and has received the Hustle Award from Spectra Venue Management in 2017. And then we have Ty Wilson, originally from New Mexico, but has very deep Texas roots. Graduated from Texas State University with a bachelor's in geography. Now, that's something you don't hear every day. And then headed out to the University of Montana and got a MA, a master's in geography there as well. And then after graduating, went on to start working in the farming and the ranch business. In this case, it was Windy Hill. And the goal there, this was in Central Texas, was to create a sustainable multi-species farm and ranch that supplied both wholesale and retail customers with such products. He's also very keen and involved in the Texans Feeding Texans program, and also with helping distribute, I like this one, Texas raised proteins to wholesale accounts and customers. Ty partners with his in-laws, and they formed the Cibolo Creek Brewing Company, and also which is also a brew pub that's focused on using local proteins for its pub menu, and also a gathering spot for the community to really just come out, hang out, enjoy crafted brews. The key word, again, amongst a lot of these 40 under 40, building relationships. And in case he seems pretty familiar to you all, he was just elected to the council as councilman to the District 1 City Council for the city of Boerne, Texas. So Ty's actually the last one. Again, not a ranking, it's in alphabetical order. And with that, I will turn it over to Theresa for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Gil. Before we move on with the very ending of our program, I just wanted to give a sincere thank you to the Arcadia Live and Michael Kelleher and the staff here. You provided an incredible venue for our event. We wish that we could have had everybody here in person, but we look forward to 2021 and the opportunity to bring people in here and celebrate this beautiful theater. Again, thank you, Anne, Michael, Stacy, and Katie. We couldn't have done this without you. Also, make sure to follow them on their social media. They have various platforms. Check them out and show some support. So I'd like to say again, congratulations to each of our first 40 under 40 recipients. There are exciting things to come, and we look forward to working with each of you in some capacity. As we look forward to future initiatives, we know that you will join us in our quest to find the next group to honor in 2021. And because of the enthusiasm and interest from a variety of entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators this year, we thought it was important moving forward to not be restricted by age as a qualifier. With this consideration, it was important to have a logo representative of the initiative and its growth. The new logo gives us the opportunity to choose to highlight different age ranges and possibly even be selective in recognizing specific industries as we move from year to year. Thank you again, Gritco, for your work in developing this new brand. Qualifiers and details about the 2021 Top 40 will be released in February, and we look forward to seeing who you all choose to nominate. We are looking forward to celebrating the Top 40 in person in September. And so we would like to thank you and congratulate again our first annual 40 under 40 group. Each of our 40 under 40 have received a separate login for the networking portion of this evening, and we hope you will join us in that next session for a toast and an opportunity to chat amongst yourselves. On behalf of Gil and I thank you for joining us this evening to celebrate our innovators, our entrepreneurs, and the leaders of our communities.